Aloha. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to New Thought Center of Hawaii on Easter Day. Our awakening, our re-resurrection. We're so glad to have you all here. We're so glad to be back on the lanai, and I see some new faces. And very, very grateful that we can come together again. That being said, we do ask that you wear your masks at all times, and especially if you come up to the mic later on to share for Miracle and Ordinaries, that that you cover your nose and your mouth for any kind of sharing. We will be taking our masks off up here if we are presenting or facilitating. I am Tony, by the way. I'll be your facilitator today. And Lynda Boozer will be our presenter today. We're really looking forward to that. We had such a wonderful Easter with her last year. And I do want to thank you for wearing your masks. And we're in compliance with the health mandates for places of worship. And we up here are positioned 6 feet from the congregation. So we're doing our best. We're not perfect, but we're doing our best. And we really thank you for helping us with this. So I think let's start with a little bit of an opening meditation to just kind of pull our energies and focus our energies into the room and together. So we're one united purpose here. And I will do the gong when it'll just be short, but I'll do the gong when we're done, and just come back as you wish. Ask that you be in a comfortable position, and that we leave all of our cares, our worries, our concerns, if in fact we have any, right at that door, and enter into this sacred spot together. We can create magic here together. So let's do that. Let's take 3 cleansing breaths in and out slowly, and pull in this beautiful divine love and light energy that's present in every one of us, that's present in the nature outside, and everything that we see and that which we do not see. To pull in the real, which seems unreal, and to realize the unreal is truly the real. Let us raise our consciousness and our energy to the light, and have the heavens rain down upon us their grace, their beauty, and their love. Please bring your consciousness back into the center. Thank you, Marie Claire. That was lovely. And as usual, our roosters and added to their accompaniment, and we had some additional too. As always, we never know. We never know here. It's different every week. Now I'd like to have Ramona come up and do a reading for us for today, for Easter Day, from the Science of Mind magazine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ramona, and as at all our Sunday meetings, services, we read from the Science of Mind magazine. And there are a lot of wonderful things passed on to us through this from the founder of Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes. This one is called Resurrection into the Light. Behold, I make all things new. The resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separated from God. For death is to the illusion alone and not to reality. Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind. Easter, a celebration of life. What a joyous time of year to claim your freedom. Freedom from what, you ask? Freedom from all your doubts and fears. Freedom from your own limiting illusions about who you are and what you are here to do. Freedom from the blocks around your heart that keep you from giving and receiving all the love you've come in physical form to experience. Now is the perfect time to relinquish it all. All the thoughts and beliefs you've held about yourself, that you are not good enough or worthy of a great life, can be dissolved in an instant. Quote, behold, I make all things new, unquote. How much longer do you want to keep telling the same negative story about your life? How much more time do you want to waste bemoaning your situation instead of experiencing the heaven on earth you came here to experience? In the letting go of all the negativity, a new and glorious life awaits you. You deserve to be happy and filled with joy. When, in faith and trust, you move into the flow of the divine, it supports and sustains you in ways unimagined. We did not come here in physical form to suffer. We are here to experience joy, peace, and love. Don't waste another day. A great example has already been set by the greatest teacher of all. It is time to resurrect yourself from the darkness into the light. Happy Easter. And now I'm going to read the affirmation, which I'd like you to repeat after me. I freely release all negative beliefs that no longer serve me. In great joy, I accept and receive my good. And so it is.
Thank you, Ramona. May we have another song, please? Thank you. Our happy song. Well, again, welcome to New Thought Center of Hawaii on this beautiful day of renewal and reconciliation and resurrection, that we come more and more into who we truly are. A little bit about our center, New Thought Center of Hawaii. We have an interesting background. But let's start with our mission. I love our mission statement. Who else has this kind of mission statement? Our mission is to provide a sanctuary of aloha for the nourishment, development, and evolution of each individual's unique spiritual path. And you know, the spiritual path is unique and different to each one of us. We're all heading to the same goal, but the way that we choose to do it and express it is different for each one of us. And that's what I love about this community, is that we welcome the diversity. We embrace the diversity. We know all religions teach the same truth. All loving beliefs lead us to the same place. Caring and loving for our fellow man, for humanity, for our own selves, and doing what we can to make it better. So we started from the Kona Community Church of Religious Science in 1971, and we've held Sunday services continually since that time. That's pretty impressive. We were in Keauhou first, and then since 1999 here in Kealakekua. We're going to be coming up on our 50th year anniversary in September, and that is quite a feat. I think we resurrected when our actual minister for this, for New Thought Center, left, departed, and said, "You don't need another minister, just minister to yourselves." And we went, "Oh, wow, what a novel idea." And that's this way it's been ever since. And I think it's one of the things why we're unique. And, you know, I've moved around a fair amount and I've been in different places. I cannot find, maybe it's there, I just can't find another place that quite has this niche and the number of beautiful, unique souls that come into community here. So, and whenever I'm not on island, it's always my energy linking energy place to come back to. So we are affiliated with New Thoughts, International New Thought Alliance. It's kind of like an umbrella organization that brings different groups together. We kind of share common beliefs and attitude. And one of them is a new thought embodied as a consciousness, in consciousness, produces a new condition. Well, that's us every moment. And it also includes many unity and religious science churches and centers for spiritual living, which, you know, it's very possible if you've traveled that you've gone to a number of these places. You can visit us at newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. and get more information from there. So, could we have one more song, Marie Claire? Yeah, so if you're new here, we kind of do the applause and standing ovation so we don't break the energy of the quiet and the silence. Now we come to a part of our program where we share our miracles and ordinaries. And, you know, for one person, a miracle might just seem like, I don't want to say just, might seem like an ordinary. It's everyday, ordinary synchronicities, something that stands out a little more, something you're grateful for, or it could just seem that the skies open up and divine intervention sheds its grace. And it's so eye opening. Or anything in between. If there's something you'd like to share, ordinary or miracle, on this miraculous day of Easter, please come forward to the mic to share, and please keep your mask on then. Thank you. Who's going to start us off? Who's got a miracle?
It's a miracle that our lovely, beautiful friend Marie Claire is here.
Any ordinaries?
Well, the agricultural machine noise kind of brought this to mind for me. I was trying to figure out which land it was coming from. Okay, because our straight Mackay of our center is the property of Charlie Lindbergh, and then Greenwells is a little bit that way. So I'm pretty sure it's from the Greenwell side. But the ordinary miracle concerns our neighbor Charlie, the one closest to us, just Mackay. He used to be so antagonistic to New Thought Center. There was one time he stormed onto the lanai during a service to threaten us because he was disturbed by the sounds coming from our lanai. There was another time he was going to organize all the residents of the apartment to the south to all do their car horns at once. I mean, this did not seem like a friendly person. But I have to give Davina Marr some credit for this, because she was on the board at the time, and she suggested that we should get together with Charlie and really listen to him and see if we could reach any agreements. And she really used those nonviolent conversation techniques exceedingly well. And I was part of it too. I was mainly listening, but we had a true communication. Charlie felt heard. He made certain requests which were not unreasonable, like, you know, that if we were going to have a special event and an unusual time, we would tell him ahead of time. And I've tried to make sure that we did keep our side of the agreement. And he is so friendly now. It's like when I called to tell him before Dawn Barnett's service that there would be a period of 15 to 25 minutes where several people would be playing drums at one time. And normally we would do that in the indoor room, but because of the pandemic, we needed the fresh air space. And he said, no problem. Do whatever you need to. It's, just have a good time. So I knew that if it was Charlie making that loud noise this morning, all I would have to do is remind him that we are resuming in-person services, and we'd appreciate if he wouldn't do loud machines between, 9:30 and 11:30 on Sunday mornings. I'm not sure about Greenwell. I might need to have one of those heart-to-hearts with them next. But anyway, thank you for giving me the chance to share that ordinary miracle.
Yeah, maybe that's not quite so ordinary. But it's amazing when people feel honored and respected and listened to and cared about. It's all we all want. What a shift is possible. And maybe they heard you, Pasha. So that's a good reminder for all of us. Anyone else? I know I can feel it. Somebody's sitting there. I can feel it. Something's popping up, boiling up. No? Okay. I think maybe it's a miracle that we're all here together on this lanai, and that we're doing it right before this time of renewal, this spring renewal, this season of light and of ascension. May we all ascend. So now I have the great honor and privilege of presenting our presenter, Lynda Boozer. Lynda, by the way, has an MS and a Doctor of Ministry. She joins us today to offer a story of hope and joy that has her very excited. In 2018, she began a journey which she shared with us last year, exploring the deep spiritual truth of joy. And she ended her 2020 presentation by leading us. This really has stayed in my mind. This was a very unique and wondrous ceremony and celebration that we did here last year. She led us in a version of the Christian sacrament of Holy Communion, one that she believes holds in it the essential elements of joy. And this year, she's going to pick up her story from Last Supper sacrament and take us through the symbolism of resurrection to the hope of Easter. And I think she's going to be telling us her personal Easter story that we probably many can relate to, and a story pertinent to our times and to the new world we're creating, which we certainly are right now. Lynda comes to us from Charlotte, North Carolina, where she supports others in finding true integration of mind, body, and spirit through one-on-one healing and spiritual mentoring practice, teaching, speaking, writing. And through all this, she's especially excited about her recent work with joy and the possibility of living life fully awake. Lynda's had over 40 years of holistic physical therapy, subtle energy work, craniosacral therapy, communication and conflict resolution, immersion on the shamanic path, Ministry studies focus in the embodiment of spirit. So she comes to us well versed, and I'm looking forward to peekaboo, Lynda. I see. I'm looking forward to hearing what today's going to hold. Lynda, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. All right, I'm going to be flat here. Step one. Can you hear me? I suspect so. How are we doing now? Oh, little. Everybody can hear? Wonderful. Wonderful. Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter. I just want to say what a joy, truly a joy for me it is to be here and to be back on the lanai in Kealakekua. I didn't know until last Sunday how much I had missed being here while on the island. It's a part of my time here. It's a part of my heart filling that happens in Hawaii, and I had been really missing it. And I just want to give a shout out. There is a leadership team that has kept this community going, and kudos to you all. I cannot even imagine what it has taken to keep alive during this time, and the adjustments and the figuring out and the learning curve and the heart and the commitment and the belief in what you had. So truly, I honor you, and thank you for all of us who get the privilege of being here. Again, happy Easter. Today is a day of celebrating life, of celebrating rebirth and renewal, of celebrating love in our hearts that can be lived out loud and received, a day of rebirth. And I love that Easter, I didn't know this until I was preparing, that Easter is named after the goddess Iastre, the goddess of springtime. And I love that Easter is named after a goddess, because I really think that feminine of the body, of the self, that passionate creative energy is so much about what was garnered in the resurrection, what was garnered in the raising up that happened, that Jesus modeled for us, printed for us in the resurrection around Easter. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. So last Sunday I walked in, and Jamil was singing the pre-songs, was singing one of the early songs, and I don't know those of you, I was sitting right beside him, I could really hear his words, but his pre-song, the words were, "This is how I would die into the love I have for you. This is how I would die into the love I have for you." And he went on to sing, "Like pieces of cloud dissolving into sunlight." Like pieces of clouds dissolving into sunlight. And I thought, that is the energy of the resurrection. Like pieces of clouds dissolving into sunlight. And then Craig Villarubia gets up and he starts talking about forgiveness, his topic last Sunday. And he's talking about this place that we can find within ourselves that is about peace of mind, that is about joy, as he called it, rising above the battlefield. And I thought, and that is the place. That is a place that we can find within ourselves. That is what I believe was accomplished at Easter. And then what I would say about resurrection going into that is that in that raising up, that potentiation of the energy, that building of the energy that lets our entire embodied selves come alive, come forward, come present in our heart space, including all of us connected in that space, brings us into that resurrection place, that place where the heart is the fullest,
the most potentiated, the most magnetized to connect heaven on earth, to bring heaven on earth within us, which I believe is our possible most joyful self, to be alive here, engaged here, and giving here ourselves. I want to stop a minute and back up because I want to share a couple of pieces of my background that get me this excited about sharing this with you today, and really feeling like I've encountered the Easter story. So I was raised, I call it Metho-Baptist. I was raised in a Methodist church by a mom who actually was quite Southern Baptist. And that Southern Baptist self kept bleeding right into our Methodist background. And there we were, a family making our way with that church as our roots. So when I was called to a deeper spiritual journey, it was important to me to somehow honor those roots, for those stories to be a part of my spiritual development. But I wanted those roots to grow a quite broad limb tree. And I wanted them to hold the fullness of who I am, the fullness of what I trust and believe, and the fullness of something compelling in a spiritual journey. So in my vocabulary, that's called mystical Christianity, where there is an experience of the divine within, for me, under that umbrella of the Christian stories. So Easter, growing up through the years, has had challenges in it. It's a tough story. It's a tough story to take in and not have it so narrow focused, or not have it so punitive, or not have it whatever. So for Easter to start showing up in my life was really ultimately thrilling. The other story I want to give you a little background on is my passion for joy. So back in 2018, I read a book called the Book of Wisdom, the Book of Joy. And the Book of Joy is written by a man, or put together by a man named Doug Abrams, who, in a week-long experience with the Dalai Lama and Bishop Desmond Tutu, had a conversation, supported them in a conversation on the nature of joy. And for me, joy had been one of these things that you sort of ran into if you were lucky. You know, like, oh, that brings me joy. Wow, I feel joyful today. Like, boom, boom. Like there was this thing and suddenly I felt joyful. But I didn't really have anything that I could do to build that, to bring that. And so all of a sudden I had this idea, and you guys are probably way ahead of me on this, but anyway, my idea was, wow, joy can be a state. It can be a state of being. It can be, I would say, even a base note in our lives, a base note that grief can be lived on top of, or even suffering to a certain degree can be lived on top of joy. And I just got really excited about this. And so during this time, I stumbled on a definition of joy that has continued to be the one I have studied and explored. And it comes from Andrew Harvey, an amazing mystic himself. Andrew's definition of joy is that joy is the essence of the essence of the essence of God. The essence of the essence of the essence of God. And I would say even the essence of the essence of the essence of love lived within. So I shared with you all last year in this exploration of joy as what I call joy in every step, as a state of being. I took a 5-week walk on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And in that journey, I kept asking, tell me more about joy. Tell me about joy. Help me discover joy. And what I walked away with and continued to explore is, I really believe that the essence of joy is Holy Communion. That in that communion that we live, that relationship we live with the God in the universe, the God in one another, the God in all creation, that gathering, that relational highway, if you will, that relational pathway, that holds the juice of joy. That holds the juice of joy. And so last year here, as Tony mentioned, we sat with the sacrament, the Christian sacrament of Holy Communion, which was indeed the Last Supper at the Garden of Gethsemane prior to Jesus's crucifixion. And at that time, and I actually am not positive it was the Garden of Gethsemane, I think it was somewhere else. But anyway, at that time, Jesus talked about uniting the bread and the wine, uniting the body and the spirit. This is my body, this is my blood. And what I like to think of it as is in the body is our earthly selves. This is our rooted of the earth, the bread, Mother God, matter, human body. This is our body. The blood, our blood is full of oxygen. It is full of spirit. It is full of spirit flowing all through us. The blood and the body together, heaven and earth together. And that's the place I believe we are living into in this Easter story. So after I left here last year, we might say all hell broke loose. In other words, I fell into my suffering and could not find my way out. So at that point in time, I walked in. It was March 1st. You all know what happened in March last year. I got back to Charlotte on March 1st, and very quickly, actually, as I walked into my back door, something happened. Won't go into the details, but something happened that generally triggered me and sent me somewhere I hadn't been in a long time. Anybody ever get in those places? Anybody? Okay, I'm so glad. And sorry, but I'm glad to know I'm not alone, that sometimes I stumble into those places. So there I was in this place, and I was struggling, and I was losing that Holy Communion that I had worked so hard to discover. So there I was, and within about a week or two, I was in so much physical pain that I could hardly walk. And my physical pain was all in my pelvic floor, it was in my back, it was in my hips, it was just all over my lower trunk area. And I did what I do with things like that. I began a process, which is a lot my practice, which I call deep body dialogue. And I began to talk to the pain in my body. Help me understand you. What is going on here? What do you need? What are you holding? Anything I could ask of it. And I began to get stories back to me about what was there. And the heart of the stories was stories of times that my deep feminine had been persecuted. Stories when my creative, feminine, powerful, sexual, eros self, not just sexual, but that energy, that passion energy that so many of us have been, if you will, persecuted for. I believe we all have at some level been persecuted, whether it was my patriarchal father doing the best he could, but subtly or not so subtly putting me down, there it would be. Or my mom, who had been raised with that same being put down, what had happened to her and how that got projected on me, or a whole variety of things that happen. And I would say that energy in its persecution, and I've read other writers talk about this, it's the persecution as whore. It is that put down of that feminine, of the body energy of something that is bad, something that is wrong, something that didn't behave right. And of course, ultimately, as the writing talked about this moment, those were things I had taken into myself. Not just they did to me, they didn't do anything. I took on something that my body was wearing. So during this time, I was working with these voices, these parts that were revealing themselves to me. My pain was slowly getting better. And in that time, I was talking to a particular hurt part one day, and I discovered that this area held a part that had been lost. So those of you here on the lanai have had the gifts of Hank Wesselman's teachings for a long time. And in that shamanic indigenous wisdom teaching, they talk a lot about soul loss and soul retrieval. So in soul loss, some part of us gets so traumatized that it tucks itself away. In the shamanic tradition, they talk about it flies to the upper world, which is basically like it flying out of our bodies, or it burrows itself so deeply within that we don't have access to it. Now, they also talk about loss in the middle world, which is a little more complicated, but that's the lower world and the upper world. I found a lost soul part in the lower world, deep buried in my body. Only this soul part was dead. In all the years I had been doing soul retrievals on myself or on clients, I had never encountered a soul part that was literally dead. Usually they'll tuck in, kind of frightened, or they fly so far out into giddy land that they're way out here in some place so disconnected. But I'd never found a dead soul part. And I thought to myself, gall darn, what do you do with a dead soul part? You know, I want this part back. And then I thought, the only thing I know to do with a dead soul part is support it in being resurrected, to support it in being risen up and to come back alive. Now, maybe you guys would go somewhere with this, but I didn't frankly know how to go about that. Like, how do I help resurrect a dead soul part? And I did what I then do, which is I prayed and I said, Yo, God, please show me the way. I've got this part of me that I know is not alive. Help me find a way to resurrect it. Help me resurrect this part. And over time, things kept showing themselves to help me until this part got resurrected. And what I want to do today is kind of walk you through with me how that happened, and also lead us in a meditation that will help us all experience this journey of resurrection. So the very first thing that I encountered in working with this was shame. And if you look at New Thought talks a lot about beliefs, the decisions we make in our head that aren't true, but we live by them often unconsciously. What I have come to believe, and I would say no, is that those beliefs almost always end up also in us as shame. And shame tends to live low in our bodies. In those first and second chakras lives shame. And shame is damp. Shame is like trying to start a fire on wet wood. It won't much let us fire up. It won't let that passionate of this earth energy set flame. And so the very first thing I began to work with was just becoming a spiritual warrior into my own shame. What am I carrying? Am I carrying that I'm whore? Am I ashamed that I'm whore? Am I ashamed that it's my fault? Am I ashamed that I'm different? Am I ashamed? Whatever. I believe many of us hold in those very lower parts of our being shame that we did not necessarily know was there. And I believe with all my heart we have to take a dagger to it and say, no, you are not the truth speaking through me. You are not the truth. So shame became the first thing I became ritualistic about. Then something else happened with a client that just got my attention. This was a very depressed client, one of my most depressed clients. Depressed to the point that while she would not take her life, she could freely say she did not want to be here. And it's so painful for her, and as you can only imagine, painful in general. She began to get a particular treatment that was magnet therapy, some kind of new magnet therapy treatment for depression. I had the good fortune of knowing her over time and working with her, and I could feel what was happening in her body. What was happening in her body was she was getting more solid. There was something about her energy that was becoming more contained, more solid, more present. And I began to think, well, that's really interesting. I've always thought of expanding energy, flowing energy, helping energy be free and clear. I had never thought about energy being solid. And so I began to work with this idea of solidifying the energy. And so that's what I was working with in myself, was making my energy more solid, more of my God self alive within. Carolyn Mays talks about calling ourselves home. I was calling myself home into my more God self, present, mindful here. The other thing I began to work with was this idea of potentiating energy. What does it mean to build an energy? And this takes us back to Andrew Harvey's definition, the essence of the essence of the essence of God. How do we build that essence of the essence of the essence? And I started to think about lavender flowers and arms full of lavender flowers in a press where that precious oil that is in lavender slowly drips out of all of those flowers pressed together. How can we build that in ourselves? And so I began to potentiate the energy in that. Over that time, all of a sudden, I began to realize something else was happening in my body, and I knew that my dead soul part was awake and in my heart. And that is, I began to realize that Kundalini was rising in my body. Now, Kundalini, most of us know, and we've heard about it as this ecstatic, sexual, passionate energy. And frankly, I think while that is true, that we've done Kundalini a little bit of a disservice because it's an always ever-present energy available to us. If you look at Wikipedia on latent energy, I would say suppressed energy. And that suppressed energy can be brought forward at all times, I think. And finding that energy, and even if it's a 6 on a scale of 10, it's still an energy that can be accessed. And maybe we get to 10, but that 6 gets us going. And so I began to work with uncoiling this very powerful of the earth feminine energy in me that we can all bring forward in ourselves. And I realized that coming up, connecting to my pineal gland, the third eye, raining down, that energy was now alive in me in a way that it just had not been. And in that, I believe really is the heart of the resurrection, the heart of heaven on earth, and how we use that embodied, carnal, incarnate self of the earth energy to join all of us together, to concentrate it in our hearts, and to bring heaven on earth. Marie Claire is going to play a little music, and I'm going to walk us through some of these pieces. Take a moment and just feel your heart right now. And just feel that energy, notice it. And now drop into your bodies. Plant your feet here. I love to use the word plant. In planting, we have roots. Food comes in. We are fed by mother. We are fed by father. We receive that beingness right here in us. Breathe into your whole body, letting the air that is in your abdomen fill your pelvic floor. And just take a moment and ask your body, that precious being that you are, am I holding shame in these first and second chakras? Is there shame that I can dry up, that I can say no to? Just make a note. Is there anything holding on damp there that is not serving this bright fire being that I am, this Eros self? And we're going to do specifically in the pelvic floor. Just imagine yourself calling your energy home. Anything that you disperse out of you, maybe from fear, maybe from hypervigilance, worrying about what's going on outside of you rather than coming from your center self. Gather that energy in. You can do this anywhere in your body. I especially recommend around the head because our heads get so busy and scattered. But today we're going to focus right here in these first and second chakras. And now, like you're squeezing the energy in those lavender flowers, just build your power right in your pelvic floor. For right now, just keep it there. Okay. And then as you draw in an inhale, pull up that energy. And just for now, we're not going to do complicated Kundalini work. We'll just pull it up, this time your backbone. All the way up into your heart. All the way up into your third eye. And in the Kundalini, the sides cross and wind and twine. For now, just bring it up as a channel of energy. And now do the same thing right in your central channel, right? Coming up from the center of your pelvic floor. I like to talk about the pelvic floor being like the bottom of a balloon. And that central point in the balloon, that central point that starts in your genitalia and then moves up that central channel. Concentrated, alive, integrating, gathering your whole embodied, your whole incarnated self into your heart space, into that spiritual dimension of the third eye, the crown. And then seeing that divine energy, that heaven raining down on earth. And now go back to your heart, rest a hand on your heart. And feel this place. Feel this place of being. And just ask yourself, can you call this joy? Can you experience this as joy? No right answer. For me, this is the base note I talk about. This place of connection, this place of fullness, this place of integration, this place of love, the essence of the essence of the essence of love, the essence of the essence of the essence of God lived right here in each of us and shared out loud. And from this place, there I believe is that peace of mind that Craig talked about last week, that joy, that forgiveness, if you will. And I would say that power, there's a lot of power in this energy to be creative with neighbors, as Pasha shared, to do our work in the most connecting ways, and to live fully alive and in its own way above the fray. Thank you. So as we finish up, I just want to say that this to me is the joy and the hope of Easter, that this is a place we can find right here on earth, and that in this magnetic place, we are most magnetized to the divine, that heaven comes alive right here in us to be present with us, and that in essence, it's our most human lover self meeting God the lover. We become God desiring us as we desire God. That union, that connection that we can then take forward and give. I want to close with another definition of joy. And this is by Reverend Douglas MacArthur. I want you guys to know that Time Magazine put out an entire special edition on joy this year. Joy is getting press. What Douglas MacArthur says is this: the reason for joy is the incomprehensible gift of the love of God. The reason for joy is the incomprehensible gift of the love of God. And he goes on to say, a God who is the wellspring of the joy of living. Happy Easter, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynda. Thank you. I was still sort of floating out there somewhere. I really liked the meditation a lot. And your words were so soothing. I think I really took it in a lot on a very deep level. And thank you for your joy. And now we come to the part of our service where we'll have the offering bowl here. We don't pass this around right now, but if you would feel like you would like to come up and place an offering in the bowl, one at a time, keeping your social distancing even then. This helps us a lot. We're still continuing to have music ministers every week, whether we're in person or on YouTube or both. And we still have some bills to pay. And we appreciate your energies and supporting that to happen. And we appreciate all of you being here in person too, as well as all of our viewers from everywhere, maybe even throughout the world. I don't know, but certainly throughout the States. If you would like to play some offertory music, so we may come up and do that, that would be wonderful, Marie Claire. Thank you. And for our viewers at home, we also have PayPal, and there's instructions for that on the New Thought website. We can accept checks, and so there's many different ways if you would like to make a monetary contribution. Okay, announcements. Lynda, you said there wasn't anything in particular for you that you wanted to mention right now?
Yes, just that Pasha asked me earlier if there's any way my work in North Carolina can be shared, and I do. Oh, better. Am I still on? Hold on. Sorry about that. No, I'm not on. Now I'm on. Pasha asked me if there was any way my work in North Carolina could be shared here in Hawaii, and certainly I do one-on-one virtual sessions, and you are welcome to go to my website and check that out, and also teaching and speaking engagements. So thank you for asking.
Lynda, what's your website?
LyndaBoozer.com, and it's
Okay.
LYNDA.
Okay. And BOOZER.
Yes,
right?
thank you.
.com. Okay. Very nice. Okay. So coming up at New Thought, our services continue to be held at 10 a.m. Attend in person or watch live stream. And there's links on the New Thought Center of Hawaii links for YouTube channel when you do that remotely. The next 3 Sundays, next week, we have Linda Tellington Jones, Getting in Touch with Divine Consciousness Within, and music by Drew Womack. And that will be, the recording for that will be the next day. But come in person, it's more fun. And our 418, the week after that, in 2 weeks, is our sharing service. And the theme is going to be our COVID creations. Gosh, that might take too long. And again, meeting in person with safety rules. There will be no recording of that or live stream. So you got to come in person if you want to share. On 425, Kumu Kealaching. Turn towards the face of our foundation. There is life in every turn. And again, meeting in person or live stream from New Thought Lanai by YouTube, which will be the next day. Is that correct, Pasha?
Live stream while it's happening.
Okay, and then the recording the following day. Yeah, okay. Didn't really get the gist of that. Okay. Weekly classes. We still have a number of weekly classes that have been going on. Gentle yoga out here with Maria Mann, 5 to 6:30, $15 to $20 drop-in fee. Sundays we have group coaching 4 to 5 by with Damina Mar by donation. And then on Thursdays, Davina is leading starting April 8th, a 6-week book study, Receiving Love by Hendricks and Hunt. So, yeah, a little awareness about how to receive love, how to be aware of receiving that love, and how to embrace the receiving of love. On April 13th, she has a heart-to-heart connections practice group from 4 to 6. And that cost on that is $17. And that does require RSVP. And this is all on our website. If you have not signed up for the newsletter and you'd like to do that, just go on to newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com and you can sign up for the newsletter. And as you probably know, you can find information on Facebook, and we usually have a blurb at least once a week in Dolphin Podners. Ooh. Whoa. Okay. Wow. Something I said was good in there. Something that was said. Stay. Okay. Okay, so I want to make a note right here that after we do our closing circle song, we won't circle up, but we'll be energetically circled together. And people leave, that downstairs, well, not really downstairs, outside, there's a table set up with produce for sharing if anybody would like to bring anything home with them. And we also are putting our Easter basket out because the Easter bunny came sometime, we're not sure when. Somebody thinks they might have spotted him or her. I've heard rumors, but we can't confirm that. So, but there's little eggs, and these were all hermetically done with gloves on and good sanitary measures. Anyways, they're little plastic eggs, and in there, you can pick your favorite color. But once you pick one, please don't put it back in. Make your decision ahead of time. And there's some little goodies in there, some little treats in there, just to maybe remind you of maybe the Easter egg hunt we had when we were little. And that'd be fun to do at some point down the road. Or little chocolates that you used to get. We used to get a chocolate Easter bunny. And then we'd have Easter egg hunts, and us kids never found them all. My mom was pretty good at hiding them. And I did that for my kids. And sometimes a year later, we'd be sitting down and go to get something out of the cushion, and what's that? And we'd find eggs a year later. So they weren't chocolate though; they were jelly beans. So they kept. But that'll be outside for you as just a little symbolic Easter offering for you all. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll conclude with our closing song, whatever that happens to be. Yay! Yay!